Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm super excited. We're going to be doing a live event. We're going to be doing a healing experience together called the Mind-Body Reconnection Experience. And I am right now adding my guests to the TikTok Live. I'm going to be joined by 4 guests. And then once we all here, we're going to start and I'll introduce it, and then together we will do this event. So I'm super excited about this. I'm trying to see how to invite people. So hello, it's Edie. Edie, you're going to have to ask to join. That's how it's going to have to work, unfortunately. So anybody who I've told, please put asterisks in. You need to request to join. That's how we're going to have you join today. So I'm super excited. Let me kind of share a little bit about what this is and what we're going to be doing together. So already, thank you so much. I have 1 guest here. I'm excited about that. We have 3 others who are going to be joining us as well. So today, this is going to be experienced. So I want you to consider being in a relaxed setting. You'll notice that I'm not in my usual desk chair. I'm actually I'm sitting in a very relaxed recliner at this point, and so I urge you to find a similar setting. Find a setting to where you can lean back and you're able to close your eyes and be able just to listen to my voice. And so it's really important that you pay attention to how you're feeling. So all of those who are joining me, who are my guests today, I have 3 other people. Please send a request to join on TikTok, and then I will add you. Unfortunately, I can't add you another way. I tried, and I don't see a way to do that. Maybe there is another way. This is always the tricky part, you know. So sorry for this delay. Those who are coming in who are my guests, please request to join this. Brittany, where is that join request that you?
I automatically got one.
Oh, you did?
It was as soon as I got in the live, it asked me if I wanted to come on.
Oh, so well, really that's interesting. That is really weird. I don't know why I did that, but I know Edie's here. Yeah. Okay. Yep. You need to request to join. For those who are my guests today, please request to join. I know hello there is Edie is one of them as being requested, and I'm trying to I'm struggling to add you guys. So and I don't know your handles. So those of you who are joining me today, I don't know your handles. So you'll need to make a request to join. So we're delayed by a few minutes. For those who are on YouTube, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your patience. We're going to get going as soon as I have my guests who are here. I have a few people who are requesting to do this with me on Instagram, so I'll add a few people over on Instagram as well. So I'm sorry this is not working as easy as I thought it was. Yeah, it's the plus button, exactly. There is. How are you doing today? This is Lisa, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Lisa. I'm so glad you're here and you're joining me today live on this. I have a few more people. Yeah, a few more people I'm hoping to join over here on Instagram, but I'm sorry, on TikTok, but I'm not seeing them. So you know what? I don't want to spend a lot of time. I don't want to spend a lot of time waiting because I know people who've been anxious to be here. So let me introduce what this is, what we're going to be doing together, and then make sure you're in a good setting to where you're relaxed and we can kind of calm together. So when you experience trauma, your body goes into survival mode to meet the challenge, which is very, very normal. And obviously, you aren't connected with yourself. You're all about trying to survive this horrific experience that's happening. And for example, if you're in a car and you're trying not to hit another car, you're focused on not hitting the other car. You're not focused on what you're feeling. You're not focused on your body in space. You're focused on surviving. When we are in an abusive situation, unfortunately, this protective mode of survival persists. It goes on for hours, days, weeks, and for some of us, even years. And we end up not having the ability or losing the ability to regulate ourselves, and move back into a more normal state. So I'm going to be doing on Thursdays, and this is my first, a series, 9 different exercises, and we'll rotate them through, of guided meditative experiences to help us reconnect with our bodies. Believe it or not, some of us, if you think about it, if I asked you where your left foot is, you may not be able to tell me exactly where it is and how it feels. Some of us lose that level of connection with our bodies. I know a lot of us struggle to even know what we feel. If you ask, how are you doing right now? They maybe will say, I'm tired or I'm bored. But if you ask more sophisticated feelings like I'm disturbed or irritated or I'm feeling maybe stressed or paralyzed, they may not have the words for that. We lose the ability for that. And then we also, in that process, because we're numbing out in order to survive, we're losing the full range of our experience. You may not feel fear because you've learned to numb out on fear, but that also means you're not experiencing joy and not experiencing a lot of pleasure. You literally move your range of emotions from wide to very narrow. So the goal of this is to help us from the bottom up, from our most deepest regulatory places in our body, begin to unwind, relax, and re-regulate, so that we can then take control back over ourselves and re-regulate the way we feel. So today's exercise is a guided relaxation technique. And then if you go back and review this over on YouTube, you will see that this is also being streamed on YouTube. I'm so glad you guys are here. If you go back, there's actually a schedule so you can see what's coming up, and I would love to have you guys join live there, or join us over there, but also then you can watch it, rewatch it, and you'll know what's coming up, and you know which lives will be about what. But it's progressive, and I hope that you will join me each week, because it's progressive and it will be changing from kind of like in touch with our bodies all the way to how to soothe and ground ourselves. So it's moving progressively from more basic, kind of more primitive, to more sophisticated. So today is a guided relaxation. I won't be taking comments because I'll be doing it with you, and then at the end I'll be doing a Q&A and we can talk about what it was like. So for those of us who are here with me live, we can then come back and talk about what that experience was like for you. So with that, I'd like you to get started. So find yourself in a good space. I know obviously you need to keep your phone or your tablet or computer nearby, but someplace you can hear my voice. You don't have to actually watch this, you can just listen. So I'd like you to relax and find a safe space, and I'd like you to lean against your chair and then just let yourself sink into the chair and feel the back of the chair. And as you're doing that, I'd like you to feel your breath, the way that it's inhaling and exhaling. With me, take a nice inhale, hold it, and exhale. You may find that your eyes are getting heavy, and if they want to close, that's okay. You can let your eyes close if they're feeling heavy. Take another inhale, hold it, and let it out slowly. Inhale. Hold it, and exhale. And inhale, hold it, and exhale. Continue the nice rhythm of slow breaths, of inhalation and exhalation. Notice the warmth in your body, the tingling in your hands, in your fingers. Your feet feel heavy on the floor, and your back against the back of the chair or couch or your bed. You're feeling warm, safe, peaceful, There may be noise in the background in your setting, but you focusing on this, you're letting it go. You're hearing my voice, and that's what you're focusing on. Everything else slips away. You're here in this moment, in this safe moment, and you're feeling your breath slowly inhale and exhale. Maybe a place is coming to mind, a favorite spot of yours in nature. Maybe it's the beach, and you can hear the waves in the background, and the sun's warm on your face. You feel the wind tickle the hair on your arms. Maybe you're on a mountain, and you can hear the wind blowing, and the birds in the distance. I want you to tuck this favorite place away in your mind as a place that you can revisit whenever you need to. It's your safe space. Take another deep breath in, hold it, and exhale. Now we're going to do a series of tightening and relaxing different muscle groups. I want you to clench your feet, curl your toes under nice and tight. Tight, 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 nice and tight. Feel the pressure in your toes. Feel how the joints feel tense. Now relax and let them drop to the floor. Feel the warmth rush into your toes, right down to the bottom and the edges of the bottom of your sole of your toes. Clench your lower calf and the knee. Feel how tight that is. Make it as tight as you can. Feel the muscles tense and contract. Hold it nice and tight and then release. Feel the flood of relaxation move into those muscle groups as you release. And the warmth and the tingling in the back of your calves. Tense your hamstrings and quads. Feel it all the way up to your pelvic and hip bone, from your knee to your hip bone. Feel how tense and tight it is. The tension like hard bands. Keep it nice tight. Now relax and feel the relief rushing into those muscle groups. Now they're tingling and warm. Make your hands into fists. Curl your fingers to your fingernails or into the palms of your hand. Nice and tight. Feel how tense that is. The strength in your hands. The heat building. Then relax it. Let it flop onto your lap, beside you. Feel the relief rushing into your muscles there. Now tighten your arms. Make them like steel, rigid, firm, hard. Feel them shake with the tension. Feel the strength in them. And then relax. Let them go limp. Clench your abdomen, your stomach, your belly, your chest. Feel the tension in the chest and the belly. Make it as tight as you can. Pull it in. They're steel, strong. Now release. Let it go limp, relaxed. Draw your shoulders up to your neck. Make it nice and tight and tense. Feel the pressure build in your shoulders. Now drop your shoulders and let it relax. Tense your face. Pull it into a grimace. Clench your eyes as tight as you can. Make it very tight and tense. And then relax. Feel the weight and the heaviness across your body. Let it lean deep into your sofa, into your chair. Let it carry your weight. You feel warm, at peace. You're safe. Your breath slow and steady. Your mind's drifting. You're aware of what's going on around you, but it's in the distance. You're focused here and now in this safe, peaceful place. This is a space that you can come back to whenever you want. It's as close as you are. It's there when you need it. Remember this feeling that you have right now, this sense of peacefulness and safety. This is where you can come to when things get hard. I want you to start to wiggle your toes and move your fingers. You're starting to feel more awake, more alive, more energetic. You're starting to wiggle your arms. Maybe your eyes are coming awake. And I've got one of my eyelashes stuck. There we go. And you're moving your shoulders. And you're feeling at peace here. And that ends our first experience. If I don't lose my eyelash in the middle of all of this. I'd love to know what you think, what you thought, what this was like for you. So for those who are on, I know I'm with Thriving in the Afternoon. I'd love to know what you think. And then I also love to know, Lisa, on Instagram, what were your thoughts? I know YouTube, you can't see my guests, but so for those of you who have joined me, and what did you think of this experience?
I thought it was incredible. I just felt like, and I've done like a guided meditation before, and it was like the beach is my lock-in, and so I just felt like the waves coming in and flowing back out, and just like a very, very peaceful tingle. I really, really felt like I was focusing on my breath work. It was wonderful. It was wonderful.
Yeah, I'm reading the comments, Brittany. I don't know if you can see them. And Lisa, I lost you over on Instagram. I don't know quite how to stop that, but sorry, Instagram, for the weird picture. But yes, I was I've done this before. Obviously, this is something I used to do with clients, and it is a really wonderful experience. And for those who missed it, it's taped. It's on YouTube. It will be put in its entirety and saved so that you can go back and watch it. And it will be a host series. We'll create the host series over there so that that's something you can revisit whenever you need to. This was called a guided relaxation meditation experience. One of the purposes of it is to obviously learn to self-soothe by using your breath, but it also helps you, by the tensing of the muscles, helps you to reconnect with the body, reconnect where your body is in space, because you're sensing it, because you're reconnecting with those muscle groups. Do you find, I'm going to just ask you a question, Brittany, and anybody else who's watching, and I'm watching the comments on both. Do you find that, do you struggle to know where your whole body is in space? Like, do you find sometimes that you lose track of a limb? Maybe you lose track of a sense of a part of maybe it's your back. Do you find that there's parts of yourself that you're not as aware of as you probably would expect? Because you don't know what normal is, but more than you expect.
Absolutely. Especially like in my back, I'm rarely ever aware of my back. Until like I get a neck pain, but like just like forcing myself to sit back and be in a relaxed posture was very weird for me because I'm usually like hunched over. So just like having to sit back and take in those deep breaths, it was very like broad awareness, especially like my calves really got me when you were telling me to clench my calves. I was almost like struggling with it. It was weird. I wanted to dig into that a little bit, like why I felt that way.
Yeah, one of the things I'm going to talk about really intimate things for a second. So I want to give a trigger warning to anybody, but those who've experienced SA may find that the pelvis and the hip area is a very spot that we're not aware of. Many of us tuck our tailbone in an odd direction because we're trying to sort of, just like when you like hold your chest forward to sort of hide your bust line, when we kind of tip our pelvis, we're trying to protect from being wounded or hurt or injured, or to stay invisible. It's our way of hiding. But when you do that to the body over a long period of time, you hold those positions, it ends up causing damage. Those areas aren't meant, that's not a normal posture, and it does wear and tear, but it also strains those muscles and can bring pain to us for carrying ourselves that way. I know for me, one of the things I often do is, you notice even right now, I'm trying to drop my shoulders. I often carry my shoulders up. You know, when we have a lot of responsibility, we tend to walk around with our shoulders high, because we feel the weight of the world, the weight of stress on us. But again, you'll notice that you probably in the evenings are aching and hurting, and that there's knots and muscles from carrying it. Just like for me, I am a survivor of SA. I have a lot of low back pain, and is it a big surprise that low back pain is one of my areas of injury, and it's, I'm sure, partly because of the history that I've continued to carry that trauma in that part of the body. The body, as Dr. Vanderkolk likes to remind us, does keep the score. It has a memory of its own, definitely. I had a really interesting experience. And it was very stressful, but it was powerful. In those of you who are living in the Napa Valley area of California, you have this great really benefit of that volcanic national ash and the sulfur springs and everything. They have what's called a mud bath. And in the mud bath, you go in with guests, so it's not people you know, but you have to get naked, and then they wash you, and you get into the spring, and then you do this mud bath, and then you have a massage afterwards. So like an hour and a half, 2 hour long experience. I've done it multiple times because I used to live in California. And I remember one of the first times I had it right after I had a cesarean with my third child, and when they started to massage my stomach, and most masseuse therapists don't do that, but this one was kind of massaging that area, I started crying. And I realized that last delivery that I had, I don't share it, but I had all my pregnancies were extremely traumatic, and the last one, I had an ovarian rupture and a placenta abruption. I had two life-threatening conditions happened at the same time, and they did an emergency cesarean on me. And my son was born black from not breathing. He was hypoxic. He wasn't breathing. And so it was really scary to see this baby pulled out completely, not blue, but black, and then waiting for that first breath, and then also just having that whole experience like that. And when he was massaging that area, it reawakened the trauma, the fears, the stress of it, the having someone cut into me like that, all of that happening. And it's amazing how that can happen. Like just what you were sharing, Brittany, that you struggling to be aware of your legs can be a sign of something, can be a sign of, maybe it's a symbolic meaning, but it also could be an area of trauma, being held there. So it's kind of interesting how that all connects, isn't it?
It is, and you said a couple of things in there that like really jogged my mind. Because when you were talking about your delivery, that's like a combination of my second and my third birth. My second birth, my son came out purple. And then with my third son, I had an emergency C-section. And so both of those I related to. And I was on TikTok last week and I saw a video of someone like pushing right into the hip bone to release stored trauma. And so I had my husband do it for me. And at first I just started cackling, like I started laughing a lot. And then I like burst into tears and it was super, super painful. But like I've had like a transformational week since then. Like I'm having a lot of memories come up and I'm having like a lot of big emotions. And so I tried again last night with like a roller to try and like kind of just engage that pelvic area, because I have a lot of trauma stored there, just from deliveries and sexual trauma as well.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the things I would love to have you all do who joined me today, and if you missed the exercise, please know that this is streaming right now live on YouTube, and it will be available for replay. But so you can go back and do it with us at another time. But I would love to have you periodically think about throughout the day, whether you're sitting at the desk, whether you're typing on the computer, maybe you're making dinner, whatever you're doing. I'd like you to stop and tune into yourself, tune into your breath, to how you're feeling, where are you carrying tension in your body. How are your feet feeling on the ground? What's your shoulders doing? How's your head feeling? We get into a habit after trauma and abuse, because we're so focused on survival, of tuning out and focusing on whatever it is that we need to do. Are you waiting too long to go to the restroom? Is your bladder full? Are you pushing yourself too hard? Are you tired? How well did you sleep last night? How are you taking care of yourself? And how does the body feeling as you're doing that? And I'm going to be the first to admit I suck at this. I've been pressing myself hard this week, and at times even my chest, I feel like I can't even breathe across my chest because I'm pressing so hard. But even this, I feel so much better just having done this with you. It's amazing how slowing down, and that breath rate that I was giving you, that's a good breath rate to use. Let me kind of explain something else that's really powerful. When you move into a flight and fight mode, you are moving into a sympathetic state. It's a polyvagal nerve theory, if you know anything about that. It's an activation for the body on an autonomic level for survival in a crisis. So if I said to you, so literally every organ in your body has an on-off switch. Your heart, your digestive system, respiratory system, all the systems have an on-off switch. When it goes on for survival to protect yourself, your heart rate goes up, digestion stops, respiration speeds up. In fact, if you've ever been on one of my early lives and you notice how fast I was talking, that's a sign that I was in a sympathetic mode because I was feeling really, really stressed. I can't tell you to move out of that by just saying, stop being there. Don't relax, move into a parasympathetic state or a calm state. Just relax. You can't just do that. You have to, because you don't have control over your heart rate, and you don't have control over digestion. You can't tell your mouth to salivate, all the things. You can't tell your skin to get warm and moist again. It's all out of your control. But there is one place in your body that is both autonomic but also voluntarily under your control, and that is with your breathing. So that rate of breathing that I was using with you, that's a good rate. You want to take about like 6 seconds for an inhalation and exhalation. Roughly, you want to do about 10 breaths a minute, roughly. Take about 6 seconds plus per breath. So you inhale, pause, and exhale. Inhale, pause, exhale. try that when you're feeling really tense. Try that roughly 10 times or more, and check in again and see how you're doing. Yeah, Pillar of Light saying that box breathing is used by Navy SEALs. Yeah, in fact, thank you for reminding me that, Pillar of Light. I appreciate that. Here's another great, the way that system I was telling you about, that sympathetic and parasympathetic system, it's always activated all the time. It's constantly going. So when you inhale, you're activating the sympathetic system. And if you notice, your heart rate sometimes speeds up a bit. It'll kind of speed and slow, speed and slow. That's your parasympathetic and sympathetic system working constantly in it, like partners. They're working together. So back to the breathe. So one reason that people who are athletes do this, like this really fast breathing, because they're activating their sympathetic system before they do the activity, the athletic activity. Like, in fact, right now, just me doing that, I feel hot. And you see my face flushing. I activated my sympathetic system doing that. So we can do the opposite. We can deliberately, just like I right now sped myself up doing that, we can calm ourselves down by focusing on the exhales. Because the inhales will kind of activate it, and then the exhales will relax. So breathe in and let it out. Breathe in, let it out. I had clients in my office come in highly anxious, and sometimes I would pause the counseling session and just do that with them. And it's amazing to me how the tone of the room quiets, and their rate of speech slows, and I can see them finally sit back into the chair so they can talk. So the next time you're feeling that, try that and see how that helps. Any other questions, comments today about this experience? What's your thoughts about it? Hey, thank you, Bree. I'm so glad you're here.
Oh, good. I thought it was an incredible experience. I feel very calm. I feel grounded. Like, I feel ready to go deal with my three little therapists. So I feel calm. I feel grounded. I feel centered and ready to go on with my day. It was a great experience. And hi, Bree.
I'm so glad you guys joined me. Thank you so much, Lisa, on Instagram, and thank you so much, Brittany. And you're welcome to both of you to disconnect now, and then I'll just kind of talk to the audience for a few more minutes before we end today. So thank you so much, Lisa. I don't know how to I don't know if I can disconnect you myself or not. But Lisa, if you still can hear me, if you can disconnect over there, that would be great. Yeah, if you're interested in being a guest here, please contact me. I would love to have you join me as a guest, and we can do this together. And so that would be awesome. And the link in my bio is where you go to be able to sign up for the future ones. And also on YouTube, on the thumbnail on YouTube, you're going to see the schedule of what ones are coming up on the next ones. And I'll handle the introductions part differently next week, but it'll be next week Thursday, and then we'll miss a week, and then we'll be back again right after the first Thursday of February. So next week will be a little different. It won't be the same as today. It won't be so much on breath and relaxation. It'll be a different experience. I don't have the list in front of me to be able to remind myself, but I'm super, super excited about that. So what other questions do you have about trauma, about healing, about maybe your journey of healing? I'm sorry, my lash is driving me nuts. I thought the glue was dry, and then my eyes glued shut when I had my eyes shut. Isn't that really weird? Oh, so someone said it's nighttime in South Africa, so this is a perfect way to end the day with the running thoughts. Yes, that's a great point, Jack, that this is a wonderful way to sort of disconnect from life, sort of to ground ourselves and calm ourselves, to help back to the idea of sleep is when we really ultimately calm down and disconnect. And it's hard when we're kind of racing and feeling unsafe for us to switch that off and to go to bed. It's really tough. So yeah, I'm glad. Good night. I hope you sleep well tonight. I hope that's a great end today for you. I will be doing this every Thursday, and this live is saved. It's over. It will be on YouTube, where you will see it is labeled separately in its own playlist, so you'll be able to find them. And there'll be a creation of playlists of all these lives on YouTube. And my YouTube handle is Kerry McAvoy, Ph.D. And for those of you who don't know me, I know a lot of you who are here because it's a small audience here today, but I'm a clinical psychologist with over 20 years of counseling experience, and these are some of the things that we would do when I had clients who had anxiety disorders. This is one of the practices that we would do. So I know there's questions coming in about other things related to narcissistic abuse. I'm happy to switch the tone, but I want to make sure we wrap this up so it's not a jarring shift. And then I'll take just a couple basic questions about narcissistic abuse today, and then we'll end today. But I want to primarily focus this on trauma, on the body, on us re-regulating ourselves and healing after abuse. Can I sum up what I just did with Bree? Yeah, with Brittany. Yeah, absolutely. So what I just did, for those of you who missed it, is that the first part of today was a guided relaxation meditation experience. We get disconnected with our mind and our body and our sense of self, and we get really dysregulated after trauma. That's a flight or fight. The fight or flight is a survival mode. It's healthy for us. We need it. It keeps us safe. But when we are in an abusive situation for periods of time, we become stuck. We become dysregulated, and we stay in this high alert, hyper aroused because we're not safe. And it's the body's way of trying to create safety, is to keep you in this so that you can hopefully get out of it. But unfortunately, for as many of us know who've been in an abusive relationship, it's very hard to get out of a toxic relationship. They're very good at trapping us. So we stay in this heightened state for too long, and it has very serious ramifications for our body. So today was a guided breath relaxation technique to help you re-regulate and to kind of take control of your breath again. So as I said, this was taped on YouTube. It's streaming live right now on YouTube. Hey YouTube, so glad you're here. So any of you can go back over and replay it. You'll find it in my lives. It'll be in my lives, and we're going to put it in its own playlist so that you can go back and rewatch the start and then do that part of the exercise again. So thank you for asking that. So the next live on this will be next Thursday at 1 o'clock Central Standard Time. It will be a different exercise. It won't be the same, and I'll guide you through that. Unfortunately, I don't have the list of the schedule in front of me, but if you'd like to do this again, we'll do this. It'll be a different technique next week, and there's 9 different exercises that I've identified that we're going to do together. This was the first of 9. Can I talk about CPTSD? Yeah, I want to stay at trauma related today, so yeah, I'd be happy to talk about it. Somebody else asked, is PTSD a disability? Actually, I think, please correct me for those of you who know, I believe that it is a disability in the United States. I'm not for sure it's a disability in every country, but please correct me, those who know. Isn't it considered a disability in the United States? I'm thinking of like vets struggle with it. I'm sure that it is. I had a client who is on disability leave due to trauma. So and this was years ago. So I suspect, somebody else is saying it is in California that it is. This was in Michigan. I know it was allowed in Michigan as a disability. Yeah, and Brittany's saying she's also on a disability for CPTSD. So yes, it is a disability. So the person who asked, yes, please pursue that. If you're struggling with functioning and maintaining a normal standard of life and caring for yourself or caring for the needs of a normal day-to-day challenges, please see a mental health clinician who's licensed to diagnose, and you can start the process of disability. I'm not an expert in that. I'm not an attorney in that, but that is definitely something we could take advantage of. And are you aware that you could also take advantage of that for a comfort animal, that it's also considered a disability where you're allowed a rescue animal for that? I've also written letters for people who need to have an animal in their life for therapy that way. So that's another really great way to utilize this is for those of us who are struggling with PTSD and CPTSD, that you're considered. I actually sat next to a guy on the airplane who had a rescue dog, and his was for, he's told me it was none of my business, and was not obligated by law to tell me anything, and I felt really bad that I was being intrusive. I was just being the typical psychologist, but he then said it was for mental health reasons. He had an animal for mental health reasons, and it was a trained dog in the same way that like a seeing eye dog, or a dog for those who need for hearing, or for those who need help with getting around and opening doors. This dog was specifically for mental health reasons. So I know that's another benefit that most of us don't take advantage of. That you have that, at least in the United States, a lot of laws that protect your right for that aid, for that help. CPTSD is complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and it's for those of us who have had repeated trauma, or like chronic trauma. Another way that it stands for complex, but I also like to think of the C as chronic. It doesn't stand for that, but I like to think that it's a repetitive experience. A lot of us who have been in kind of like abusive situations probably has CPTSD. What's different about PTSD and CPTSD is that PTSD is more of a hyper trigger, kind of like I like to think of it as super sensitive trigger and processing of a very dramatic and traumatic experience. And CPTSD ends up having this is the way I'm understanding it, so I may be a little off, but from my reading of research into this, has to do with, it changes the way our personality is. It kind of changes our wiring and how we relate to the world. So it's kind of like it goes deeper. It's not just that when you hear a sound you can't work or it triggers you. It also makes you struggle in relationships, maybe struggle with the work situation. It has more of a kind of integrates itself and affects more areas of your life. It's more pervasive. That's the word I'm looking for. It's a more pervasive impact into your life. And I'm not saying one's better or worse than another. I'm not, because they're all both on a continuum from mild to extreme. So you could have someone who has PTSD who actually has very severe, very debilitating, maybe even struggling with psychotic symptoms. But you also could have someone with CPTSD, and you and I would think that they're functioning relatively well, but they'll tell you how much struggle everything is and how much they're battling it inside themselves. So I'm saying both are on a continuum, and it's really, you can't compare as one is worse than another or different than another. It's just different. It's just really different. And like I said, the CPTSD is probably more pervasive. The damage has been more into the personality. Not that the PTSD doesn't affect your personality, it certainly does. Very much affects your functioning. But yeah, here's the other reason that I'm struggling so hard with kind of describing it, is because CPTSD is a newer concept, so it is not as well understood. There's a lot of research that needs to be done. It's not as well known. You're going to have a harder time finding clinicians who are familiar with it, unfortunately, because it's newer. It's newer and is not as recognized as PTSD, which means that those of us who are getting graduate educations are not being informed and trained. By the way, I don't know if you know this, that narcissistic abuse is not recognized either. That's why you hear all these different definitions of it. That's why you have so many clinicians who don't know what it is. That's why so many people are saying that you're codependent. And I'm not saying that you're not. Maybe you do have some codependency traits, but a lot of victims don't. That's not necessarily fair to say that's everybody's struggle. It could be as a result of chronic and progressive and persistent cognitive dissonance is causing pretty significant personality changes in you. So there's so much that this whole area that we're talking about today is new. It's where the research right now is happening. It's kind of cutting edge. But that also means there's just a lot of misinformation. So I want to, here's the other, I'm going to just do a public service announcement for a moment, because I watch stuff on TikTok and I watch stuff on YouTube and Instagram. There's a lot of misinformation. Please know who you're following, know their credentials. There's someone right now talking about toxic empath. There's no such thing as a toxic empath. It doesn't even, you can't, okay, let's for a second, let me give you an example. Just use that as an example. Empathy is the ability to imagine life from someone else's position. That's empathy. Some of us do have too much empathy. Yeah, I guess we could call ourselves empaths. We are very sensitive to the feel of the room. When we move into a room, we sense, by the way, it's a survival mechanism you guys probably have learned from living with dangerous people, because you have had to learn how to stay safe. And so you've learned to read the room and read the emotions of others very, very, very fast at an instinctual level, kind of like a hardwiring level, at a core level. You're reading the room really, really faster than you can think. You've developed this skill. It's like a muscle. You've developed that skill. There's 3 different types of empathy: cognitive empathy, affective empathy, and I'm forgetting the name of the third type. But empaths probably, I think some of us are hypersensitive in our sensitivity to sensory input. I'm autistic. I am hypersensitive to sensory input. That's just my hard wiring. But I think some of us are what's considered highly sensitive people. There's a quiz you can take online to find out if you are. I'm also that. It's probably no big surprise because of my autism. So it's possible to have a sensory system that's too sensitive, and then you get into a traumatic situation where you really get good at reading the room, and then you're super good at that. So you're very empathic. And yeah, that probably, I would say that's an empath. Then you probably are an empath. But let's think about this comment of toxic empathy. How can empath, the ability to read a room, make you toxic? It just makes you really sensitive to other people. Now, does that mean that you take care of people too much? That you're for your own sense of safety, you're trying to guide them and guard them and protect them? I just don't get it. It's a made-up word. Someone made it up because it sounds good. But it isn't based in research. It's not based in theory. It's not based anywhere. So watch out for that. Watch out for that kind of stuff. Then there's, I've heard gaslighting misused. I've heard cognitive dissonance, the term cognitive dissonance misused. Where people are kind of describing wrong things. Just so be really careful. Be really, really careful on the internet and on these platforms and who you're watching, because there's money in narcissistic abuse. Obviously, it gets views and it gets, but be very, very careful. Know who you're following and know what they know and know why they know what they know. It's really, really important. Yeah. What kind of autism? Are there different types of autism? I mean, I'm high-level Asperger's, but even is that good to say? Or what's high level? I have areas that I'm really suck at, and I have areas that I'm super great at. So all my sons are autistic. So, each one of them have different skill sets. They have all their deficits in some areas, and they have really incredible strengths in other areas. So I think that's how we view autism now, is we don't view it as high functioning, low functioning. We just sort of view it as there's strengths and there's weaknesses, and every person sort of has their fingerprint of how it manifests for itself. So someone asking, why is psychiatrists so afraid to say a person's schizophrenic? They probably are. They will say it to your face. I mean, I used to work for a psychiatric facility and we treated schizophrenics, and yes, it was devastating to tell a patient that they were schizophrenic, but the patient knows. I mean, they're being hospitalized for a psychotic break, so they are aware something's terribly wrong. So I don't know why your situation, they're afraid to say that. I'm not for sure. I've never seen anyone afraid to say that. It's, like I said, it's a horrible diagnosis. It's a life sentence, something you don't say easily or lightly, and you really want a lot of proof before you say it. But I've known people who came in with no diagnosis and then become diagnosed with it, and watched them move through their life, and it is a very It's a very heavy diagnosis, very weighty. No, so yeah, I'm reading what you're saying. So I'm so glad that you guys were here and joined me for the meditation today. And I hope you will come back next week at 1 o'clock Central Standard Time, and we'll do a different one together. And again, we'll kind of just take the time to process what it was like and how it felt for you. And yeah, so your mom was diagnosed. She was institutionalized before the diagnosis. Yeah, that makes sense. I can see that. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I really, really appreciate it. I know this is not as long as my normal lives are, but I also don't want to change the focus. I really like to keep the focus more on trauma. So I hope you come back with me next Thursday. We will do the next one. And if you want to see the replay, you can run right over to YouTube and watch it there. And you guys have a blessed afternoon. All right, bye-bye.